Assalamu alaikum students. Today we will discuss about the bones of the body. First of all, the appendicular skeleton. The appendicular skeleton, it consists of the shoulder girdle and the upper limb and the pelvic girdle with the lower limbs. So in this lecture we will do the bones of the shoulder girdle and the upper limb. So you can see here, as I have told you before, the bones of the appendicular skeleton includes the shoulder girdle and the upper limb. Now the bones of shoulder girdle include the clavicle and scapula. While bones of upper limb, here you can see it includes the humerus, radius, then ulna. So humerus is present in the arm portion and radius and ulna is present in the forearm portion, and radius is lying on the lateral side while ulna is lying on the medial side. Then comes the carpal bones, then the metacarpals, then the phalanges. So these are the bones of the upper limb and these are the bones of clavicle and scapula. So today we will discuss about these bones. Pectoral girdle or shoulder girdle, it attaches the upper extremities to the axial skeleton. So here you can see the clavicle and the scapula, it is attaching the axial skeleton with the appendicular skeleton. Bones include, as I have told you before, the clavicles, articulates with the scapula and the sternum. Here you can see it is articulating on one end with the acromial process of the scapula and other end with the manubrium of the sternum. Scapula articulates with the arm bone and the clavicle. Here you can see again the the acromioclavicular joint, the acromion of the scapula making joint with the clavicle, and this is the bone of the arm which is known as humerus, and it is making joint with the scapula, the shoulder joint, the glenohumeral joint or the shoulder joint. Now the clavicle. Let's talk about clavicle. This is a S-shaped long bone. So clavicle is a long bone, S-shaped long bone, and it is S-shaped. So clavicle, it means in Latin it means key-like. This is also called collar bone because it is located in the region of the collar. It is small curved bone that lies horizontally on each side of the superior thorax. So here you can see this is the thorax part of the body and it is lying on the superior part of the thorax, and this is the lying horizontally. So it is the only bone in the body which is lying horizontally. Only long bone in the body which is lying horizontally. Otherwise, long bones in the body, they are lying vertically. It articulates with the manubrium of the sternum at the sternoclavicular joint. So this is the sternoclavicular joint. So it is articulating with the manubrium of the sternum at the sternoclavicular joint, and Laterally, it articulates with the acromial process of the scapula to form the acromioclavicular joint. Now, this provides a bony link between the upper limb and the skeleton. So, these two joints, they provide the bony link between the upper limb and the axial skeleton. So it has got, if you observe this bone, it has got a sternal end which is towards the sternum on the medial side, and an acromial end which is lying laterally. So sternal part is on the medial side of the clavicle. This part of clavicle is going to articulate with the manubrium of the sternum, and it is quadrangular in shape, while the acromial end is flat and it is lying at the lateral side near the arm, and it is flattened. The facet at the acromial end is going to articulate with the acromion of the scapula, as I have told you before, forming the acromioclavicular joint. This is a plane joint that allows gliding movement. Now its superior surface, if you are thin, you can feel your clavicle. You can do it yourself. You can feel your clavicle if you are a thin person, not having much fat. So you can feel. So a clavicle superior surface is subcutaneous. You can feel it through skin, and this is smooth. While here you can see the inferior surface is rough. It presents some tubercles and rough areas. The superior surface here, you can see it is smooth. So important muscle attachments to the clavicle. The important muscles which are attached to the clavicle are the sternocleidomastoid muscle, the pectoralis major muscle, the trapezius. So these are some of the important muscles which are attached. Now scapula, also called shoulder blade. This is triangular shaped bone on the posterior side of the body that forms the posterior part of the pectoral girdle. So this is also known as shoulder blade, and it is a triangular bone, you can see here, and it is included in the category of irregular bone. So we have studied the classification of the bone on the basis of their shape. So the scapula is classified as irregular bone. And it is located on the posterior side of the body that forms the posterior part of the pectoral girdle. So posterior part of the thorax. There is a 3 magic number for the scapula. It has got 3 depressions, that is called fossae. One fossa is here on the anterior surface, and 2 fossae are there on the posterior surface, dorsal surface, and 3 borders. The lateral border, this is here you can see the lateral border is thick, and the medial border, it is thin, and the superior border. And 3 angles, the superior angle, the inferior angle, and the lateral angle. So again, flat triangular shaped bone placed on the posterior surface of the thorax, and its main landmarks are the body, which is the main part of the scapula, and on the dorsal surface of the scapula it presents a bony ridge that runs obliquely across the posterior surface. This is known as spine. So acromion is the lateral flattened end of the spine, the high point of the shoulder. Another projection that is called coracoid process, it is the projection of the body just below the acromion, and this is the attachment sites for various muscles. You will study later on. Then the glenoid cavity, very important part of the scapula, glenoid cavity. It is a cavity on the lateral border of the scapula, above the lateral border of the scapula, for articulation with the head of humerus, and this forms the glenohumeral joint or the shoulder joint. So, bony features of scapula. Here you can see this is the dorsal surface of scapula, that is on the posterior side of the scapula, and scapula is also lying on the posterior surface of the body. And here you can see the spine of scapula. It is ending in a flattened process which is known as the acromial process. This is the medial border, which is thin, which is lying along the vertebral column, and the lateral border, which is on the lateral side, and it is a thick border. And here on the upper part of the lateral border presents the glenoid cavity, which is making the joint, the glenohumeral joint or the shoulder joint with the humerus. So humerus bone. Humerus bone is also a long bone, and it is located in the upper arm. It has got, so as you know, the long bone has got an upper end and a lower end. This is the upper end, this is the lower end, and a shaft. The upper end is rounded part. This is called head, which forms joint with the glenoid cavity to form the shoulder joint. Distal to the head are two rough projections. These are known as tubercles. So one is larger tubercle, which is known as greater tubercle, and the other is smaller tubercle, which is known as the lesser tubercle. Between these two tubercles lines the bicipital groove. Here you can see the bicipital groove or the intertuberculous sulcus between the two tubercles, intertuberculous sulcus. Now distal end, it presents two surfaces which articulates with the radius and ulna to form the elbow joint. So this is the distal end, and it articulates with the radius and ulna to form the elbow joint. So here you can see the upper end, which is presenting the head, the greater tubercle, the lesser tubercle, then the shaft of the humerus, and here is the lower part of the humerus, which presents certain projections which are involved in the formation of joint. Now radius and ulna, these are the bones of the forearm, and these are the long bones. Type of bones are the long bones again. Ulna is longer and medial to the radius. Here you can see that ulna is longer and medial to the radius, and in anatomical position they lie parallel. Here you can see in anatomical position they are lying parallel to each other. Articulations. Now the upper end of these bones, they unite with the humerus to form the elbow joint, and lower end articulates with the carpal bones at the wrist joint, and also they make joint with each other at the proximal and distal end. Their proximal and distal end known as proximal and distal radio-ulnar joint, or the superior or inferior radio-ulnar joint. So here and here, so superior and inferior radio-ulnar joint. Another type of joint is formed between them, which is known as intermembranous fibrous joint. So there is a membrane between the two bones, uniting the two bones. This is the fibrous kind of joint which is formed between these two bones. So now comes the carpal bones. The carpal bones are arranged. There are 8 carpal bones, and these are the type of short bones. Now these are known as short bones. There are 8 carpal bones arranged in 2 layers. The proximal layer, it consists of 4 bones: the scaphoid, the lunate, the triquetrium, and the pisiform bone. While the distal row, it contains the trapezium from in the lateral side. This is the thumb side, trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate. They are held together by ligaments. You can see here they are held together by ligaments, and ligaments of tendons of muscles passing in the hand. They are held close by strong fibrous band known as retinaculars. I will show you in the next picture. The flexor retinacular and the carpal tunnel. Here you can see a fibrous band is attached to the carpal bones and convert it into a tunnel under which the ligaments of the muscles are passing into the hand, and also an important nerve which is known as the median nerve, which is passing through the hand, through the carpal tunnel into the hand and supplying the muscles and the skin of the hand. So the tendons of muscles lying in the forearm, they crosses the wrist and they are held close together to the bone by the strong fibrous band. It is called as flexor retinacular. So this is known as, this tunnel formed by the fibrous band and the carpal bones is known as carpal tunnel. So what is carpal tunnel syndrome then? This occurs when the median nerve is compressed in the wrist as it passes through the carpal tunnel. It is a common condition, especially in women between the ages of 30 and 50 years. There is a pain and numbness in hand and wrist affecting the thumb, index, and the middle finger. So here you can see pain and numbness. Numbness means no feeling of sensation. Any sensation. Okay? There can be pain or the numbness. Many cases are idiopathic or secondary to other conditions. For example, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes mellitus, acromegaly, and hypothyroidism. This rheumatoid arthritis is a disease of autoimmune disease of bone, the joints. Autoimmune disease of joints. There are antibody formation against the synovial membranes of the joints, and the joints, they swell up and they cause pain, and in this the median nerve is compressed. Other conditions are the diabetes mellitus, acromegaly, and hypothyroidism. They are the endocrine disorders, and in these conditions there is a swelling which causes compression. So due to compression, now repeated flexion and extension of the wrist joint also cause the condition following prolonged for example, following the prolonged use of keyboard. Nowadays we are using much of the keyboard because of our online classes. So there is a potential to develop this condition in ourselves. Now, what are the effects? As I have told you, pain or the numbness, or in prolonged cases, wasting of muscles. Here you can see the thenar muscles, the ones supplied by the this median nerve, they got wasted after prolonged condition. Okay, so metacarpals and the phalanges. So these are the bones of the hand, and these are the miniature long bones, and metacarpals are 5 bones in the palm of the hand, and they are numbered from the thumb side inwards. So the first in the thumb is the first metacarpal, while second, third, fourth, and beneath the this little finger in the palm is the 5th metacarpal bone. Now the bones they articulate proximally with the carpal bones, and their distal ends they articulates with the phalanges. Here you can see phalanges. So there are 14 phalanges in each finger, There are 3 phalanges in each finger. Here you can see these are the phalanges, and they are the miniature long bones. They have got ends and a shaft, and 3 phalanges in each finger. Here you can see these are the phalanges. 3 phalanges in each finger, and in thumb there are two phalanges. They articulates with the metacarpal bones, at the metacarpophalangeal joint, and with each other, interphalangeal joints. So these are the proximal interphalangeal joints, and these are the distal interphalangeal joints. So there is only one interphalangeal joint in the thumb. So I hope you have understood the bones of the shoulder girdle and the upper limb. Thank you so much.